Again, I need to issue a warning. Nothing I'm about to say is based on any real knowledge, any actual education in writing, any real experience in writing or storytelling in general. Up until now, I've only ever consumed media, and only now I am attempting to write my own story, so these feelings of mine should not be taken too seriously. I went on a long tangent about Hero's journey, and I'm going to continue that. It is about the starting point of the character. If it's too low, if I feel like I'm being abused by the author and by the story through the connection that I, as the reader, have with the protagonist, I am less inclined to care about the development of said protagonist because I still have to get through the crawling through the mud phase, and it does not make me feel good anymore. So, no matter what ending point the character reaches, I don't really feel like getting there. That does not mean that the protagonist has to be or should be perfect. No. Development is interesting to me, figuring out new things, opening up new options, new possibilities, having room to grow. I love all that. I'm just less interested in the protagonist has to be weaker than the antagonist for two-thirds of the story for it to be considered a good face, or some say it has to be that way. I am looking for effort and competence. I don't want to create a pathetic protagonist on whom I use every single trick in the book to make the reader, also me, to feel sympathy towards him, just to then bail the protagonist out of every tacky situation by the plot. I love this example. The protagonist of the game I've covered here, Neverwinter Nights, starts as a trainee at an academy, elite one, who puts in the effort and then gains the opportunity to help. This is important. You weren't conscripted, you made a choice, and I said this so many times, a protagonist who makes the choices instead of one who is just being swayed by the story makes me genuinely happy. And no, it's absolutely not given since it's a game. Just take Baldur's Gate. You did not choose to run away in the first game, and you also did not make the choice to become Irenicus's prisoner, nor was it your choice to be a boss pawn. Same with Knights of the Old Republic. You wake up with no memory of who you really are, then you have to crash land, you have to save Bastila, and don't get me started on her. People for some reason say that Aribeth is her copy, and I cannot see that at all. But anyway, back to these three games. The difference is small, just the intent, tiny details, or maybe even just my own imagination and perception of these events, but it's enough for me, even though I still love Knights of the Old Republic and Baldur's Gate very much. It puts Neverwinter Nights for me above them. Back to Neverwinter, you are not bossed around, you are not ordered by the characters to comply like a dog. You can ask questions, and most importantly, you are rewarded for your help with genuine gratitude from Aribeth herself and the people of the city. That all escalates, and you end up as an entity slaying, seasoned adventurer who got there through effort and failures. You failed to help Aribeth from being swayed by Morak, and you rectified that by saving her. By the way, I have to say this, Aribeth is my favorite female character of them all in any game or story, and there is not even a contest for that first place in my heart. And even though the romance is just barely hinted at, I still prefer that even over ones like Viconia or some of the Mass Effect ones. They are much more detailed, they have much more time to develop, and yet there is just something special for me about Aribeth. Maybe also childhood nostalgia plays a role, but I had to say that. Back to the protagonist of Neverwinter, you also failed to prevent Morak from getting her claws on the last most powerful word of power, but you also managed to fix that by, well, disposing of her and getting back to your lady. That's obviously headcanon considering the hordes of the Underdark happen, but that's the ending for me, the only real ending. And you manage all that without being some chosen one, some Nephilim, son of God, or a balance bringing, destined, prophecy fulfilling being. No, just someone who put in the effort, trained hard to beat the odds, and got rewarded for it proportionally. I am not saying that it's perfect, I just like it. The game was supposedly rushed, but this aspect of it makes me genuinely happy and makes me enjoy the rest of the story and all the other positives I think it has for me, considering my checkboxes that I want from a story now. Neverwinter just fulfills so many of my own wishes for a story. In their other games, as I've mentioned previously, you are some Bale spawn or some most powerful Jedi of all time, which just isn't what I'm currently looking for. Mass Effect is another great example of what I am searching for. You are an elite, but you got there through effort and experience and many rough situations, and you start competent, but you have room to grow. Not a god, but also not a worm. I like to see the protagonist getting hit a few times from being overly curious or confident, especially the younger ones. I am more than happy with that, but there has to be balance and preferably a distinct lack of mentors around the protagonist. This topic does not really have a definitive conclusion for me, just wanted to talk about it, and I've really stretched this intro for way too long. It really overstayed its welcome, so I'll tackle at least one story of the Rapid Arrows Club and then I'll end this video. The last adventure began with them creating this hut made from ropes, and they are continuing that. They have the framework ready on paper, and it's time to get into weaving the nets. They have a wooden frame to use for the smaller parts of the net. They can't go right into making the final net because they lack room and a proper frame. They divide their roles, some untangle the small ropes, while Mirek and Yarka are creating the final parts of the large net. And while they are doing that, the Brotherhood is determined to figure out what they are doing with all these ropes, and Longpole makes a plan. He'll disguise himself as an old lady with the help of props the rest of the Brotherhood will bring back from home. They over deliver, so the final disguise is even more grandiose than the long pole would have expected, and he's going to pretend to be selling postcards while wearing a large sign around his neck that says that he, or well, she in the disguise, is mute in parentheses all the time since birth with exclamation marks. Bristles then admits that the Rapidaros will probably see through the costume quite fast, but as long as he can find out the general purpose of all those ropes they've carried into their club room, the mission can be considered a success. The Brotherhood escorts Longpole to the Rapideros club room while Bohosh is screaming for everyone to buy postcards. Longpole then knocks on the door, enters, and immediately blows up his cover by saying that they should buy the postcards while wearing the sign that says that he's supposed to be mute. The boys figure it out quite fast, Mirek recognizing the voice that the supposed old lady used as the one belonging to the former chieftain of the Brotherhood of the Cat's Paw. So this time he is gently escorted out of the club room by fists and kicks, spilling the supposed postcards all over the floor. And when he picks himself up, he meets with the rest of the Brotherhood and tells them what he saw, that the Rapidaros were weaving some nets and they assume it's to catch fish, and they decide to follow them everywhere they'll go. And this is where I'm going to stop. I have more about the hero's journey to say, and then I'm going to continue this adventure slash rivalry between these two clubs.